All right, so other than those that saw my quick little 15-second on-the-spot elevator pitch that Vince had me do an hour ago, when you saw this subject, what made you decide to come in here?
This is why I came to the conference.
This is why you flew out?
Yeah.
How far did you fly?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. All right, I appreciate that. That makes me feel better. Who else? How to not deal with this one next to you? Okay. Well, I'll try to work that in. I'm not sure. I don't know you. Have you ever come to conferences like this? I'll be very candid with you, and you'll learn in this hour. I say it like it is. So I'll give you my history in a second. But I come to a lot of things like this, a lot of Berkshire events. I went to a lot of Prudential events back in the day. And I found myself going, oh, that's a good tip, and that's a good tip. But overall, it doesn't fit me. I mean, it doesn't necessarily work how I run my business, you know? I've been back here a couple times. I know Vince really well. I've talked with, Jeff Cohen and Adam Briley and how they run their teams, and I've got a team back in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm like, man, that just doesn't fit for us. I mean, I got suggestions at some conferences to spend $5, $6, $7 with Zillow, so I blew 50 G's in 6 months, and I went, that doesn't fit my culture. That doesn't work for us. Right? So does anybody feel like I do sometimes at these things? Like, hey, those are good tips, but let's get real. I'm not going to go back home and do it that way. I already know myself, right? Okay, I got to start you off where I started with my little elevator pitch. Now, you got to be honest with me. Who in the past year has had, a client put in their phone, so they got caller ID going, or they just know the number by heart, and that phone rings, and it's just, you hate that client. All right, see? Now you're being real. Now you're being real, right? Are there any veteran agents in here say, in the business selling over 20 years? Okay, over 20 years. Have you gone in and out of hating certain clients? Okay. And is it the clients that have changed on you? Is it because you had one set of clientele, and then you got a different set and you hate them? All right.
You could be really busy and be like, anytime you call someone, forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Well, I didn't pay you to say that, right? Okay, I did not pay her. I don't know her, but that's the answer I was looking for. I started hating a client a couple years ago. And by the end of that year, I hated all my clients, okay? And I never wanted the phone to ring. And I thought, has my clientele changed? Or did I change? Right? Now let me give you a little background on myself. Been in the business 15 years, sold over $500 million, done over 1,000 transactions. My business partner, Spence, here in the blue and red hat, started with me. We've grown a team, blah, 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 done all that jazz. Let me dive into not just real estate sales, but perhaps what we're going to talk about today, our own mental state and happiness, and show you a little more about my life. And so not only did I do that production, bam, I built my dream house. My brother's a contractor. We absorbed him on my team, put this in the parade of homes, all the garages I want. Man, I thought I was cool. Okay? Next thing. That wasn't enough. So I wanted to see how fit I could get myself. So there's me and my wife. This was last June. I put myself through mental hell and went, maybe this will make me happy and I'll stop hating my clients. Right? No, it wasn't fun. And it was mental hell. Okay? So I went through a couple years of stuff, and I'm still exploring, and I'm not perfect, but I started getting at the root of what you're getting at. I said, okay, I've never had anxiety. I've always exceeded in, whatever situation, whatever brokerage you put Spence and I in, we rose to the top. But I started going, I'm really struggling with getting frustrated with every client call or how I run my business. So I just started looking into mental health, all right? And you can drive yourself nuts in YouTube videos or on social media, right? And I started going, well, how do you put our own mental state, what makes us happy, what doesn't make us happy, into buckets? How do you categorize this stuff? So let me ask you this. It's the loaded question. This is something seminars have tried to answer for years. What makes you happy? Money? Okay. That can go in a bucket. I'm okay with that.
Being the best.
Okay, being the best, and that's the definition of success. All aspects of life. Okay, I went down that rabbit hole. It could start to drive you crazy. Having closings?
Having control of my own time.
Control of your own time. Okay, I like that. We're going to get that. Winning. Freedom? Okay, that's good. That's good. Your cat. Good. Pets can make you happy. That's a bucket. That is a bucket. So I came to one realization. It has to do with a little bit with what you said. I went, I'm no expert yet. I'm starting my research, and I'm putting things into buckets. But, two realizations. Number one, I became honest with myself, and I said, all right, my business and my clients are owning me. That's why I'm getting anxiety after every call or every ring, and I'm not owning my own business. Even though we had systems and my team's pretty advanced. Yes, we use our CRM. Yes, we have some automation going on. Yes, we're pretty tech savvy. What did we do last year? 67 million, 168 transactions. So it's working, right? Why am I not happy? Why am I all stressed out? Well, chemically, I found out what is the only thing that gives you happiness is serotonin and dopamine. That's it. If you're talking scientifically, serotonin and dopamine. How do you get serotonin and dopamine? Same answers you gave me before? Having a sale? That can do it, right? My loan officer, who's a really cool guy, he's part of the Genius Network, if you've heard of that. It's invitation only. It's like a 50 grand buy-in. Elon Musk's on it, Nitish Patel, some of the top founding minds in our world right now. And my loan officer, who's also a phenomenal businessman, he is part of this group. He's been with them for a couple of years. And he met an author there. Has anybody ever read anything by Andy Andrews? 7 Decisions, okay? So he met Andy, and they really hit it off. And so he flew out Andy a year and a half ago. And me and my loan officer and Andy, us three went to dinner, okay? And there's a lot of takeaways, and I'm going to give you a handout that goes over a lot of things I've told you today because there's no way we can dive deep enough. But I'll give you my trusty little one-page PDF, and that'll give you podcasts and books and make your research a lot quicker than the couple years I've been through. But here's the one takeaway I had from Andy. Let me show you a picture. So Andy's an author. He's also a life coach. He does really well. He's probably similar to Debbie DeGroat, who we've heard from a lot today, but in life, not just real estate. And my one thing that's burned in my mind that I took away from Andy was we're sitting at this nice restaurant in downtown Salt Lake, and I told him how I was, struggling a little bit. I said, I can't put my thumb on it. I don't know if I call it depression. I've never been depressed, so I don't know if I'm depressed. I'm not taking anything, but here's what's going on. And he goes, well, serotonin and dopamine. All right. How do you scientifically change your state? Oh, maybe it's your cat, right? Maybe it's some of these things. But he goes, I can scientifically change your state right now. He's like, do you want to know what I do every morning? And this guy was homeless for about 4 years. And he's like, here's what I do every morning. I started this when I was homeless just to change my attitude. And I'd be under a viaduct, it'd be raining, and it'd be sunrise, and I'm just miserable. He's like, I'd lay there in the dark on my back, and I'd just put the cheesiest big grin on my face. When you see this guy, and he's just looking at me across the table. And I'm like, dude, tone it down a little bit. Some people might know me in this restaurant. And those of you that just smiled and laughed, stop for a second. Okay, feel your body. You had a chemical reaction. Some dopamine and serotonin was released when you naturally laughed or smiled. That just happens. So you, at every little habit-changing moment in your life, as you go about your day, as you make decisions, you can cause happiness or retract from your happiness. All right, so how do we put some of these things into buckets? And ultimately, I'm going to give you the conclusion so that we can work through it together. Your happiness, how you are interacting with your clientele, right? Can they feel it? Right? So ultimately, law of attraction, you attract clientele or it becomes very difficult for you. So go ahead and pass these around. Vince had Brooke, his executive assistant, print these for me just a couple hours ago. I know it doesn't read well. I don't know why. Maybe it was the size of the file, but it's not extremely legible. I'll go through it and just write down my email when you get these. If you email me, I'll send you a nice electronic version with hyperlinks that you can just click on, and it's neat and clean and easy to read. Okay? So here's my buckets of the best way to optimize your own mental health. Now, most people say you've got to have this amazing morning, right? The habits you create for yourself in the morning. But a lot of stuff I've read, and I'll give you some of my favorites, but from a lot of what I've read, you're not going to have a good morning routine if you didn't sleep good. Okay? Who's ever gone to an event and been like hyper motivated and been like, all right, that's it. When I get back next Monday, I'm waking up at 5 o'clock. And I'm just going to make it happen. I mean, come on, who's done that? Kyle, I've seen you at the gym when we've traveled, 5 a.m., right? But if you don't love it, can you will yourself to do that for years and years in a row? Or does it fade out pretty quick? Okay? So if you don't have a good nighttime routine, there's not a chance you're having a good morning routine. Here's some of my favorite takeaways from nighttime routines that I've seen. All right, there's some things that can help you that are natural. Who's heard of melatonin? Everybody, right? It's pretty simple. 5 to 10 milligrams melatonin. It's natural. It's non-addictive. That can help you sleep. Anybody heard of reishi mushrooms? Yeah? Okay, so off to the right side, and this is kind of how my sheet works as it goes around. As I give you suggestions, I will then refer you to a podcast where you can hear more, a book you can read, a YouTube video you can watch, or a product. So in part of my journey, I was in the CrossFit Games in 2011. And CrossFit has gotten crazy popular now. There's not a chance I can compete with those guys. But 7 years ago I did. So I went through local, regional competitions, and then I made it through state competitions in California, Colorado, and Utah. We all competed together at the Olympic Oval in Salt Lake City. And we're doing this workout where you had a partner in this one, and one of the rules was that you couldn't drop the overhead squat bar as you passed it to your partner. And I think we had to do 15 reps. So we've got 115 pounds, 235s on a long bar, and we're trying to decide how to pass this back and forth to each other during the workout that we were going to do the next morning and how to not drop it. What's the safest way to do it? So we started, or I would hold it like this and pass it to him kind of chest to chest, and then he'd clean it up, and then he'd overhead squat it over, and then he'd adjust his hands so he could start doing overhead squats. Okay? And we're like, well, that doesn't really work. You got to move hand positions a bunch. It's not that fast. One of us could drop it with slippery hands. They really shouldn't have designed this workout this way. So we decide we'll go butt to butt. So I'm holding it, and he comes and puts his back against me, and we pass it off like this. Okay? So that seemed to work good. We went through our routine and warmed up. The next morning, we got all warm. In the competition, he passes it to me, and I just had my elbow hyperextended back beyond my shoulder a little bit, and when he handed it to me, that weight just popped my elbow out of socket. Okay? And that led to shoulder injury, and now I've dealt with that for 7 years. So here I was last year on my path to mental health, and I'm going, one thing that really nags at me is this injury. It hasn't gone away for 7 years. I love to do the things I do. I'm not as heavy into it, but I still CrossFit. I do Spartan races, do a lot of trail races. And I went, it just won't go away. There's one thing that's really getting at me. How do I solve this? So I go to Southern California. I hear this really I heard on a podcast, these amazing healers. And there's a guy named Gary Balchek, and he's the founder of the Human Garage. And I'd watch these YouTube videos, and Gary couldn't walk for 2 years. He had a back injury. He was a bodybuilder, and he was bedridden for 2 years, was in a wheelchair and in and out of a walker for 7 years. Long story short, finally took control of his life, learned how to walk again. And he's like, I did one thing, but I did it for 3 or 4 hours a day. He's like, I was in a third world squat 3 to 4 hours a day. He's like, that's how I got my mobility back. He's like, I'd get out of the wheelchair at first, and I'd get myself down there, and then a lot of times I couldn't get back up. And so my brother would help me get back up. He's like, as I added minutes, and then I added 30 minutes at a time, and then I started adding hours, my back loosened up, I released nerve endings, pressure, was able to walk again. He's like, I'd been to doctors, surgeries, chiropractors, you name it. So I went there. Went to Human Garage. They're actually coming to Utah next week because they're starting to do traveling clinics, and I'm hosting their first clinic in Salt Lake. But they turned me on to reishi mushrooms. They said, well, you got to walk down this path, and there's this new startup company. It's called Four Sigmatic, and they're all over Instagram, and they just help you sleep. And I'm like, I don't know. Mushrooms? I don't do drugs. You know? Like, mushrooms that help you sleep? He's like, no, it's all natural. It's just ground up powder, and they put it in either coffee or hot chocolate mix. Reishi mushrooms. So they're on Amazon. The company's really starting to blow up. They're out of Venice Beach, California. That's a suggestion for you there. They're the Four Sigmatic, where it says product on the gray part of your screen. And reishi mushrooms can help you sleep. And I'll tell you more about Human Garage in a second. Who's heard of this suggestion? No electronics. I've already heard at least 5 times at this conference, oh yeah, well, my phone's by my bed. Right? Hey, I'm one of those people. Don't feel guilty. Phone was by my bed religiously for years. Still is, but I slide it in a drawer. Right? Why do you think experts are suggesting that? Right? There's the scientific stuff of like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and really the long-term effects that we don't know what it does to our mental capacity yet. So there's the scientific stuff, right? Why else? Straight addictive, right? I mean, if you literally gone home, 5:30, answer everything you need to, take a few breaths in your car, you go in my house, I got 3 kids, 10, 8, and 5, so I know it's going to be chaos when I walk in. And I'm in a good mental state then, phone's in the pocket, maybe I eat dinner or whatever, and then you check it again because you're about to plug it in at your nightstand, and then your whole mental state changes. But we've all had that, right? Why do we do that to ourselves? Okay, my cool loan officer buddy that brought Andy Andrews here, who did just over $1 billion in volume last year, he's really killing it. I was on a trail run with him one day, and he's like, Jake, blah, 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 you've talked about forever. Just don't look at your phone. Your clients will understand. I mean, there's a certain time at which it's still generally perceived as okay. All right, let's suppose 1 in 100. You got that luxury multi-million-dollar buyer, and he's ticked. You didn't answer the phone at 10 o'clock. What do you do about it?
What's your life worth?
What's your mental state worth?
It's priceless.
What's right? Right? What else? What can you do about it? Talk to them in the morning. Right? Do you think they might respect if you dove a little deeper and said, hey, look, here's how I treat my business. I'm always available for you. At this time, I shut off. I have to. Helps me win the next day. Helps me be a better person. Helps me be more responsive and organized. If I'm a constant whirlwind, then maybe I can't get back to you at 7 in the morning or whenever you got up to respond. So my loan officer buddy, again, subscribes to Genius Network. He's with top minds in the United States and around the world all the time. It's like most of them have figured out how to shut it off. Because if you don't recharge, like your phone that's recharging, you will not perform optimally. Okay? So that's the way I remember to detach from the phone is recharging this. Okay?
One comment. You got a friend who's a very and often weekends. But he has a separate phone for just his private people
Yep.
at night.
Yep.
Good solution.
Yep. There's also some applications you can buy that will give you a secondary number that will ring to your same phone, and then you just be systematic about
Okay.
who you hand which one out to. Change the ringtone. And the iPhone, at least version 8 or newer, allows you to, with one of these apps, shut off the number you want to shut off at a certain time, but let the other one come through. You can also set favorites in your iPhone. I've done this. So mine goes on Do Not Disturb at 6:30. I have 8 people that get through. So if it rings past 6:30, everyone's blocked, but 8 people, they get through. Unfortunately, texts are still coming through. Yeah. You can do full Do Not Disturb. You can set it up how you want. That's in when you, depending on what phone you have. So the 10, if you go in the corner and just scroll down, it's under your settings that have the little half moon. You go up, just press that, and you can change your Do Not Disturb settings. Yeah. Oh, come on, you got a sheet in your hand, so.
Or you get a business partner who'll answer his phone all the time for you.
Yeah. Yeah. He's always available. Never sleeps. He has ADHD though, so it's okay. All right. These are, so as we're in the color part, you're getting my very paraphrased version of just my top takeaways from my research. Who goes to bed with crazy dreams and a churning stomach fairly often? We're amongst friends, bloating, stuff like that. Okay. I guarantee, I don't know you, I'm not a doctor. It's what you're eating. Something is affecting you that way. Restlessness, rolling around, bloated stomach, indigestion, and or the quality of sleep that you're getting is a lot to do with digestion. So if it's upset, if you're having crazy dreams, I had really weird dreams, but wouldn't remember them, but I'd wake up with some sweats. This may sound crazy to you. I don't have time to give you the research to back it, but for me, it was dairy. Dairy, weird dreams, rolling around a lot, bloating, not getting into REM sleep, couldn't remember the dreams, wake up sweating. Stop dairy, 100% gone. Cure all. Okay? So anybody heard of slow digestive or different kind of casein protein? Okay? Million kinds of proteins you can buy these days. I try to stay away from products with dairy, try to go plant-based. That's just for me. The best way to figure out for you is to test. If I'm going to eat past about 7 o'clock, I try to just make it protein. You can figure out a way to make it taste good in a shake. And if I'm really trying to be healthy, casein protein will take up to 8 hours to digest. It goes slow. It won't add fat. It's the best thing to have during the night. Will leave you feeling full and not, craving sugars or other things at night. It's really worked for me. Anybody do nighttime, like wind down, breathing exercise, meditation, anything like that? Okay. Help me out here. Let's hear some of your routines. Well, how long? How many breaths? Are you standing, sitting? Okay. Yep. Okay, great. Anyone else?
I meditate with Esther Hicks every morning, every night, and through both of those, I have a breathing technique. I think we get through about 1,000 breaths.
Yeah. Wow. Great. Great. So, I have a religious background, and I found myself getting out of the habits and routines that I had had for about 35 years. And I started aligning some of the things I was hearing in the health world that had nothing to do with religion, referring me back to some of the things I used to do with religion. Let me give you an example. Prayer, meditation. I'm not going to, tell you in here what you should do, but at some point I was being told by healthcare professionals, religious background people, mind people, scientists, podcasts, books, YouTube videos, that I needed to go back and do some form of what I used to do. Okay? So I found myself doing some breathing exercises. An expert suggested to me, similar to what you do, he's like, hey, look, Jake, your whole life seems to be ran by the minute. Time, there's not enough time. He's like, can you take 7 breaths? Not 6, 7. Can you take 7 deep ones? I said, yeah, sure. When? He's like, take it in your garage when you come home from the day before you walk in your house. There's an opportunity for just a mental mind shift. And I'm like, well, I'm not always upset when I'm coming home from the office. In fact, a lot of times I'm in a good mood, and then my stress gets exacerbated when I walk in the house. And it's like all these other things on top of the 6 things I'm still waiting for people to get back to me on that I left hanging at my office. Right? And he's like, well, look, you just need to shift gears a little bit. Nothing's happened to you now that didn't happen before. We just need to shift your mindset. So he's like, 7 breaths in the car. As deep as you can, hold it for a reasonable amount of time, 5-10 seconds, let it out all the way. We don't need to get more complicated than that. So it really helps. If you anyone else carry stress where I do, like back their neck, radiating down their lats, right? I don't know if it's how we sit, desk, I don't know if it's real estate. That's where mine goes. So you can actually, I'm serious, you have to try it today. You can alleviate that with just a breathing exercise.
What about deep sighs all day long?
Yeah? Oh, man. You kidding me? Oh, more deep sighs.
I do, and people are like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing, that's just my stress reliever.
Yeah?
I'm just sighing again.
Yep. Part of the pathway you take.
Didn't know that's what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, part of the pathway you take is finding out anything that works for you, right? Right? So, yeah, if it works for you, go with it. Go with it.
This was the first year I downloaded the Calm app.
Mm-hmm.
I probably learned it from you guys, but at 3 o'clock, it will automatically come on my phone and be like, Kristen, take a deep breath now.
Yep. Yeah, there's been an explosion in the mental world of apps that assist in things like this, like reminders to do this. They'll sync with your calendar, notifications. You can turn on a million things. And for me, I found that adding all that was almost more to-dos. So it was just like stressing me out even more. But you find your way, right? So 1 breath, 7 breaths, whatever works for you. But you can change your serotonin and dopamine levels by putting on a smile, making a laugh, or abruptly changing your breathing habits. Usually I wear a Garmin. I've got it in my bag. It died last night, so I didn't. But I don't wear it to count steps or burn calories or any of that crap. I literally just wear it because based on your age, cadence, rhythm, how much you've walked during the day, how much you've been active, blah, 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 it will prompt you to stop and move. It just says, get up and move. And I got you. So it'll go, if I went trail running in the morning, I already got a ton of miles in, it's not going to prompt me to move for like 4 hours. If I haven't done anything, I'm going to be at my desk for 15 minutes, and it's just going to buzz a little bit quietly on my wrist, and then the screen says, get up and move. And it's just getting out of that zone. Got to reply to this person, multitasking, answer this voicemail, and someone's trying to talk to me while I'm emailing. Spence sees me do this every morning. And you got to get out of that sometimes. Or you really just get adrenaline going, and that leads to cortisol. And cortisol is what actually is causing that to move from here down to here and give you a headache. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a good question. So I have found, I am that type of person. So I have found that, if you are, so you want to know the personality test by the colors? So I'm very red. I'm 98% red. There's no fun in me. So I have found that buy this, do this. I mean, if I go in to a seminar and I've paid $5,000 and they're telling me I'm going to feel better, I'm the guy that, like, before it's over, I've ordered everything they've suggested on the screen. I'll do it all. I'll be optimized before I leave, right? And that's bad. It didn't work for me. It doesn't work that way. So I have found a happy medium of tech and some things that are really a tool and other things that are just too much of a nightmare. They cause more stress in my life. So Garmin, for example, I literally have two purposes for it. I don't sync it to my phone. I don't have an iPhone because I don't want my text emails here, and then on my desktop, and all this stuff's going on every time I get a message, right? 3 devices go off. Too much stress. But I have found for me, I do like to pace when I'm trail running in Utah. It's hard to know, and I want to know how far I've gone, my cadence and current pace time and all that jazz. A, and B, just for that make me move notification. And it's not going off all the time. Slow days at my office, it's going off every 40 to 50 minutes. And I found that's the easiest thing, that's kind of paying attention to some of the things in my body and what I've already done that day, and then prompting me based on that to move, as opposed to an app where like it doesn't know, and every 30 minutes, do this. Well, I already did that. I woke up early and went running and ate good, and it's telling me to do something else, right? So you kind of got to know yourself.
So for me, I like to work out.
Mm-hmm.
11:30 to 12, because I don't like people.
Mm-hmm. Nighttime or morning?
So I need to be there at like 11:30, 12 o'clock, and I'm there till 2, and then I sleep amazingly well. But you got to be up. So you got to get the 8 hours to start to.
Yeah.
Because to me, the gym is the club. It's between 5 and 10:30, 11.
Right.
And people are like, what's your name? I'll be there. I just want to go to the gym.
Yep.
So how do you find that happy medium?
Yeah.
I'm not a 5 o'clock in the morning cloud. I can't be there 5. I'm just rolling over the 5.
Yeah.
I was cussing the bacon throughout the morning.
I hear you. So I can tell you what it is for me, but I hesitate to answer questions like this because I have learned that everyone has a different routine, and you want to go with what works for you. So if that works for you and you feel good, stick with it. Don't let someone else give you advice. For me, running red personality, which means red hot, high blood pressure, can feel it in my ears when I'm stressed out. That type of personality, when do you think I get up? Go to the gym? Yeah, 4:30. I run, then I go to CrossFit, and people hear my routine and they're like, they turn off. I'm not doing that, works for me. I have other friends who are crazy fit, and they have to go straight from the office to the gym. They're too stressed out, they're too amped up, and that burns the cortisol right out of their body. They don't take it home. They feel optimized doing that.
But I rest
Okay.
before I go to the gym.
Yeah.
Just go lay down and
Yeah. Change your mental state, right? So, I could give you my routine. I can give you one better, which is into our next little section here, the Power Morning. One of the best podcasts I have followed and listened to on, I'm going to use this phrase, hacking health and fitness. There's a lot of health and fitness stuff out there, okay? But if you want somebody who scientifically breaks it down, tells you why to do what, when, and understands the difference between homeopathic and pharmaceutical supplementation, and everything that it's doing to your body, and the research that has been done and hasn't been done, this guy. Okay, I've ran some Spartan races with him. He is the best. He owns a clean supplementation company. He also advises Thorne, which is like cleanest supplements in the United States. His company is Keon. The easiest thing to do is just start listening to his podcast. Just choose one. You'll be hooked. It's fascinating. And he doesn't just break down ultra fitness athletes. He goes into subjects like the little things you can do during your day to de-stress, increase your mobility, or the truth about all the proteins you see in the grocery store. Or, he's got a million of them, but he really breaks it down. They're usually 60 to 90 minutes long. So I was talking with Ben. He also visits the Human Garage in Southern California. That we kind of have that in common and know those guys there. And he will share with you in this specific podcast that I've suggested, Ben Greedfield in the hot seat, he goes through his exact every day. This is what I put in my mouth. These are the devices that I use, and his optimized day. It's a little bit nuts, so don't get scared. All right, if you've had a good night, your power morning. Now we put away the phone, maybe we put on do not disturb, we did low light, we did our breathing exercise, we slept good. You don't want to jack it all up right when you wake up. Does everyone do this? Just out of bed. Better pull down so my email updates. And then you stare out with blurry eyes. Be honest. I mean, do you have to check it first thing in the morning? Are you replying? Okay. I'm still pretty bad. But I at least don't wake up, scroll down, and let it be the first thing I see during the day. Okay? And I think you could all resonate with that. We don't even need to dive into it. If you've done it before and then got a stressful email, you know what it does for your day. You know what it does. Just don't do it. Just resist. And if that goes with your nighttime routine and you can't not do it, put it somewhere else. Put the phone in the kitchen, charge it somewhere else. The step that puts that action into place is just move your charger. Just make the promise you'll move your charger and it'll change your life. It's that simple. Don't look your email. Okay, who wants to take Andy Andrews' suggestion? You're laying there in the morning, maybe you're doing your meditation. Try it. Try it tomorrow morning before you come over to this conference. It's dark, no one's going to see you. If you want to do it, if you want to be embarrassed, go to the mirror. Big, cheesy smile on your face. Make it last for 10 seconds. I promise it's going to change your serotonin and dopamine levels. All right. What's the first thing you put in your mouth?
Sip of water.
Okay. Sip of water, then caffeine. I'm with you. And coffee or pre-workout or something like that. But again, you want to dive deeper as to what I'm saying and have it backed up by science and research, check out what I've suggested for you. If you just want me to tell it to you, there's a million articles and they're still coming out. Hydrate. Water. Only water. Nothing else healthier. You've just fasted from water for 8 to 10 hours, 7 hours, 6 hours, 5 hours, because Spence always answers his phone. But you're dehydrated. Every single morning you're dehydrated. What's the hack for that? What does Ben Greenfield say? Like I told you to move your charger. Don't remember to get a glass of water every morning and go from second story down to the kitchen and all that crap. You're just not going to do it if it's that hard. Sounds simple, too hard. Go tonight, go tomorrow when you get home. Put a glass, plastic glass, I don't care. Put it by your bedstand or your sink in your bathroom. Wherever is most convenient from your bed to water, put it there. Then you'll do it. Fill it up in the morning. At least 8 ounces is what most experts suggest. You'll go from dehydration, and there's a million things that does to your happiness levels and energy levels. So again, I've got more suggestions there in the gray. Website, energiesforsuccess.org, gives a lot of little life hacks like that. And podcast, The Energy, that also has a really cool breathing and meditation exercise app that I think is the best one suggested in there. All right. Exercise. You asked the question. I won't give you my exact routine. And honestly, guys, it doesn't really matter. We're all different ages, shapes, sizes. When it comes to exercise, here's what matters. Routine, plan. It's just like your real estate business. If you're diving a little deeper and you're trying to decide, well, how do I burn more calories or what time or whatever, I'll make it simple for you. Cross-training's best. If you're doing the same thing all the time, you stop burning calories. If you need to start with something, get a plan. If that's simple as just waking up, water, boom, I go outside on a walk, change your mental state, excellent. If you've walked for a year, especially if you've gone the same path, you don't need to know the science or the calorie burn or wear a watch or anything like that behind it. You're not burning as much as you burnt when you first started doing it. Okay? So make it different. I've learned something else. If you don't like it, you can't will yourself to do it. You can for a day or 2, week, maybe a month if you're red like me. But if you don't like it, it's not going to become a lifestyle and habit. So Figure out what you love to do. We met here, Montana. What's Dan? Okay. We just met right before this. So Dan goes, oh, you're from Utah. You outdoor recreate. And I say, you're from Montana. You outdoor recreate. And he's like, what do you do? And I said, bike, hike, ski, run, whatever. Goes, oh, yeah, me too. Added fishing in there. So you all sell real estate. I'm assuming you love where you live. Does anyone hate where they live? I mean, you have the opportunity to change that, right? At least easier than your average person. So what you sell, go out and enjoy. There's a million ways to do that and put an exercise spin on it. And my last rule for exercise, just break a sweat. Change it up, cross-train, love it, break a sweat. If it's just a brow sweat, that's great. If you're breaking a sweat, you're burning calories. You don't need all the fancy tools. That's it. Tim Ferriss, if anybody's heard of him, he's also a life coach, interviewer. He's has a podcast where he interviews top authors, business people, etc. Discipline equals freedom. A quick breakdown of what he goes through in there is extremely similar to what Vince read us this morning when he kicked it off. And he read that little paragraph on what am I? I'm a habit. That hour-and-a-half podcast, which is the best I've found, simply, well, it does this. I'm going to read you one of I have famous quotes that I've paraphrased. And it's this at the bottom of the page. There's no discipline. We read and hear all these things. Oh, you got to be disciplined. The military's disciplined. There's no discipline. It's simply that you choose something else above what you know you should choose. You made a plan. You decided you were going to do something. And then you just didn't do it. Oh, man, I didn't have discipline. Let's dumb it down. It's not discipline. You just chose something else. I said to myself I was going to go start a new exercise routine tomorrow. Heck, I even took the next step and I wrote it down. Why didn't I do it? And you chose to sleep in. You don't need to infuse yourself or give yourself a shot or an injection of discipline. You just got to choose different next time. Just a choice. All right, Brooke, what we got? 18 minutes. Cool. 2 more bubbles. All right, couple years of trying to get happy, putting my next bucket of thoughts into nutrition. We all know there's too much stuff you can read on nutrition. So here's Jake's way of making it simple on you. Yeah, it's true. If it's in a package, it's not really good. It's not nutritionally good for you. All right, Jake, you don't eat candy bars. What do you have? Yeah, I have packaged Zone bars that I travel with and One bars because they have 1 gram of sugar and a bunch of protein. It's still chemically made. It's not that good for you. What would be better, even though a nutritionist would tell you it has sugar in it? An apple or a banana. There's a million reasons why. Here is a big one, and this is key for me. And this becomes astronomically more important the older I get. Learn where and what you can eat for your gut. Your microbiome in your gut has over 120 million civilli that are breaking down what you eat every day. Every single person's gut on the face of the earth is completely different. Okay, some can absorb certain things, some can't. My wife has celiac disease. We don't eat gluten. Okay, I told you my things about dairy. I don't eat dairy. Yeah, I really missed it for a while. And you get to a point where you just don't care. You feel good. All right? So we're real estate folk. We're out all the time. I was super good at home, and then I'm feeling like crap every lunch. My energy levels are going through the floor, and I did it to myself for, and Spence knows this, over a decade. And I just figured it out. I'm stressed out and energy and bloated, don't feel good. And then I went, well, why don't I just Google these restaurants? Almost every place has their nutritional values online. I've learned what affects me and what doesn't. You don't need to go to a doctor. You know how you feel, right? But make the choice to take the extra step, learn what's in that food, and then I identified 10 to 15 places that I can eat 50% of the menu. Doesn't bug me. Now I'm off on a tangent. At this point, you think I'm maybe a little too crazy. But trust me, it'll work for you. You know what you can and can't eat. So set up your life in a way that you're optimizing you, and it feels good for you. All right. Fats, sugars, dairy, not dairy, gluten-free, paleo. Where does it end? Anybody following a fad diet right now? What's popular? Come on. Keto?
Carnivore.
All right. So meats, veggies, high fat, avocados, keto. Working for you? Okay. Is working? Yep. So are you doing afternoon or big morning meals?
Well, I do late breakfast around 11 and
Uh-huh.
around 6.
Yep. So you have a 7-hour period in a 24-hour day that you pack in your food. Other than that, you're fasting. Yep. Okay. So keto with intermittent fasting has worked phenomenally for a lot of people I've met. I've met some other people, literally haven't lost 5 pounds. Okay. It's your gut biome. It seems to work better and better if you're male and the older you are for keto. Okay. Sorry. That's what the research says. Yeah. No, it'll keep working for you. And if it works for you, stick with it. And what can I ask you? I don't want this to be too much. Was your goal fat loss? Yes. Is that your main goal? Okay. You picked the right one for you.
Specifically,
Okay. Yeah, you picked the right one for you. Anyone else on a fad diet? Yeah.
Not really a fad diet.
Mhm.
A few months ago, about 6 months ago, I decided for health reasons I had to give up every kind of artificial, chemical, preservative, processed food, flavor. And I thought I was very healthy the way I was eating, but for health reasons, and I was feeling horrible, I couldn't sleep. And it transformed my life. I literally gave up all of those processed things,
Mhm.
and I'm like a new person. I've been able to sleep, I've been able to go back to the gym, nothing hurts me anymore.
Yep.
So, all these things that you're saying about a year ago, I was like, this is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Just a gym junkie who wants to stand up and
Yep.
every week.
It's okay.
I'm jealous.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, thanks. He gave me a pass.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm like, I 1,000% agree with every single thing you're saying.
Nice. I got a fan. Yeah. Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, I give us a hand. Yeah.
It just feels so much better. So
Yeah.
I just believe everything you're saying, and mentally,
Yep. Thank you.
And her production went up.
yeah.
Hey, that's the takeaway at the end here. And honestly, thanks for sharing. No, thank you.
Affected, permeated every aspect of
Yep.
my life. Make a small change.
Yeah. No, thank you. It can seem like a long, difficult path. Oh man, change the things I love, food, my routine. But when you get into it, ultimately what I'm getting at here is this wasn't meant to be a nutrition or diet speech. This is simply optimizing your life. And when you feel good, what can't you do? Right? So,
25 years of stubborn
oh yeah.
to finally realize.
Oh yeah. You're fine, Brooke. I don't need it. And that's ultimately, what I was getting at is, all right, if we are good, if I'm good, everything else falls into place. And I've been with some of these large teams before. Who goes to the Burke event? You're in the audience cheering, yay, number one, 880 transactions. And you're like, yay for them. And you're clapping because everyone else is clapping. And then you're like, that doesn't work. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, right? But what is it for you? And really our goal here in life, outside of your business, is optimizing you. It's about you. Take control of you. So on nutrition, Ben Greenfield, if you want, again, a simple takeaway from me today, just listen to his podcast. It breaks down nutrition in a phenomenal way. And the easiest thing on food is natural. Natural fats are good. Sugar's fine in its natural format with all the other enzymes in the apple that you need to break it down. There's been a lot of people who've started to have inflammation. And some doctors will say, no, arthritis, it's autoimmune, we can't cure it. And then the health and fitness world is like, yeah, you can cure arthritis. It's autoimmune. So we've got two communities here butting heads. And the reality is, the homeopathics are right, and I didn't believe it forever either. It's just the path to homeopathically heal your body is a lot more difficult than the good old American cowboy way. Take a pill, right? And we'll get you by the rest of your life. We'll try to get that swelling to go down for 40 years. You know, both my grandparents passed away in the past 2 years, within 8 months of each other. I was down there 2 weekends ago. I took my daughter for an end of summer graduation present to an outdoor play in southern Utah. It's Tuacahn. It's a famous theater. We just went down for a day, and I got to sleep in my grandpa's bedroom, which was different. And yeah, I went through his stuff. And, you know, his bottom drawer is full of Oxycontin and hydrocodone pills. And I looked at the dates, and they were as early as 2002. And I went, you know, for at least a good 16 years, he's on highly addictive opioids. I mean, was that the life he wanted to live? You know, could he have learned some little hacks that wouldn't have changed him overnight, but had been adopted early in life, would have decreased that swelling, right? So it can be done, and it's these little things. If you love carbs, make them complex. And next level, the picture you saw of me and my wife, I don't suggest it, was miserable, but I started on February 15th. I finished on June 6th. That's 101 days for those who are doing the math. And I'll give you one takeaway, and it's all that mattered. I pre-cooked all my meals for the week on Sunday. Put it in Tupperware. Why? Yeah, what I ate was important, but even more important to that was the prep. It's there, it's done, it's ready for me, I'm busy, I'm in real estate. And these guys got sick of me for 3 months because I took Tupperware to lunch every day. Okay? But it was the planning and prep, not necessarily everything else they tell you. All right, let's end on this. The last bucket, 5 suggestions to optimizing your life. Your mindset. The more you start to achieve, the more success that you have. And a very well-to-do, wise CEO told me this 7 years ago on a plane as I flew next to him advising on this business transaction. You get shoulder tapping. I'm like, what? At that age of my life, I had no clue what he was talking about. The more things I did, the more shoulder tapping I got. What does that boil down to? You will learn what to say no to. If you don't say no, you're just going to become an order taker, and it's going to run your life. And that's why my clients and my business took over my life. We require rest and detachment to perform optimally, okay? So all of you nightstand phone chargers, you agreed that you're going to go move it for me. You're going to do it right when you get home, because if you don't, you'll never do it. But as you do that, think as you remove the phone charger, you've made the decision to recharge you. And that there's a lot of research. Tim Ferriss has a book on you got to do that nightly with rest. You also need to do it, and his suggestion is at least 3 7-day periods annually at a minimum to recharge. A lot of research why, we won't dive into it. A lot of research on taking time to be present. This is the number one thing I found that I personally abuse. I'm a multitasker. I'm there. My phone and email. I'm in a conversation. I have memorized the 3 voicemails I got to return. And I'm talking to my wife about dinner. I'm not there, though. I'm not present. And the older I got, I found myself saying to the live person I was interacting with, wait, I'm sorry, what, Shannon? Like, what were you just saying? And I'm literally in a conversation with her, but I can't remember what she just said. Okay? It's like your clients that are already thinking of what to tell you when you're answering the question they just asked, and you're so pissed. And we do that to ourselves. All that has to do with being present. For me, and this, again, might sound out there like the food did to you a year ago, the easiest way I personally have found to get present, watch buzzes, move. You got to get out everything that's fake. This is all fake. This is all man-made. I got to be able to see the trees, and it's better if I'm outside and can feel the wind, and it can take 60 seconds or less, and you look at it, and you erase everything from your mind. You will completely change your stress levels and how you feel if you can get present for 60 seconds. This is my favorite quote. I don't know who said it. I paraphrase it. Happiness is wanting what you have, not having what you want. In real estate, we've got these ostentatious goals. I love it. What was his name who said he loves the entrepreneurial spirit of real estate? I love that too. But at the end of the day, things don't equate to happiness. And I can tell you that. And I could have extended my list of I tried this, I tried that, I built this house. Crap, you guys, 2 years ago I almost bought a Ferrari. It was stupid. And sorry if anyone's got a Ferrari. I love them still. But it wasn't for the right reasons. And I went, Jake, the equation's this. You've acquired more and more over the last 15 years. You've been successful in real estate. Has your happiness meter gone up in the same way the trend chart goes up with things that you've acquired? For sure not. Happiness is wanting what you have and being cool with it, not having what you want. When your mind's right, there's nothing you can't accomplish. It's simple. The best way to be productive is to have a plan and routine now. The best time to start your new plan and routine is now. Make those little steps. And I put this last quote at the end, and it's not really a quote. It's something Benjamin Franklin said, and then Tim Ferriss broke us the news that Benjamin Franklin's full of crap and abused his own quote. Okay? Has anybody heard this before? All right. Walter Isaacson is the foremost expert on Benjamin Franklin. He's still alive. He teaches at NYU. And in his latest book, he had a chapter on Benjamin Franklin. He said this: above all else, get to know yourself. What works for your body, what works for your mind, figure out what works for you. So Tim Ferriss is interviewing Walter, who wrote the book on Benjamin Franklin, and he said this: Franklin really did say, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. However, he often stayed up till 3 a.m., working on his inventions, and slept in till 11. So the end all for me optimizing your life is there's some suggestions, some hacks to make it easy on you. The books are there, the podcasts are there, the products are there. Take it and use it. But ultimately, above all that, you have to remember one thing. That was my 2-year path. But what works for me may not work directly for you. Start with knowing yourself. Take the little experts out and adopt the things that you think will work for you, and then start your own path on all the other things you can adopt that you know will work for you. Hope that was helpful.